Had to have it. Got it.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Saturday, February 25th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the only place to get your Carolina content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listener watch right after the game to get in and talk about Carolina winning big time. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, all the Locked On Tar Heels insiders, and of course, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord members. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Carolina wins at the former Carrier Dome. I can't give myself to call it anything else. 88-82 over Syracuse. They're not a great team, but it doesn't matter. It's a win, and that's what Carolina had to have. They did. Wire-to-wire win. The Tar Heels literally never trailed in this game. Tar Heels moved to 15-11 on the season, 8-6 in ACC play. They are at 48th at KenPom, not great, but it does mean that this is not a therapy session, and we'll take that on a Saturday night. Thank you very, very much. Here's what we're going to do. We'll unpack a whole bunch of stuff from this game. Big picture, little picture. There's some stuff we'll leave for Monday's show, of course. Monday's where we'll unpack the rest of the weekend, whip around, like Carolina baseball sweeping their opening season series, all sorts of great stuff there. Then we'll get to your comments and questions. Please drop those in over there in the chat. If you're watching in real time, if you're listening back to this later, welcome in to you as well. Okay, let's get right into it. Carolina, 88-82 winners. There's two important big picture things to this to me. Obviously, we've been talking about Carolina has 7 regular season games left, 6 very winnable games, and then Duke. These 6 opponents are all like basically 85th or worse in the net, including Syracuse, who's outside the top 100. Well, 3 of these 6 final games before Duke are all on the road, and Carolina has lost their last 4 games on the road. Not great. And so to go on the road and get a wire-to-wire win is massive. And yes, there were moments when Syracuse made runs, but Carolina continued to answer them. And we'll talk about some of who that was in just a minute. But the other thing is that it was wire-to-wire. I haven't counted it up yet. I'll make sure I have this ready for Monday's show. But there have not been many wire-to-wire wins for the Tar Heels on the season. Yes, even against some of the mid-major games that they played. And so not only to break the road losing streak and not only to win wire-to-wire, or to do both of those things, I just thought was really, really good for the Tar Heels, who have crumbled down the stretch at times this year. And when it looked like Syracuse might be able to get out over the hump, Carolina was willing and able to make a play. There were a couple times when my stomach was in knots. I don't know about you, but they got over the hump with it. Before we get to the game, I just need to say something about ESPN and their schedule/programming. This game was scheduled to start at 6 p.m. Eastern time. It was preceded on ESPN by the Auburn-Alabama #1 versus #2 game. And that game did not tip. It was scheduled to tip at 4 p.m. Eastern, and I don't know if it was one of those where they already knew they weren't going to start it till later, but it didn't tip till 4:15. I was watching the clock, so already knew there's no way this starts on ESPN. The Houston-Arizona game before it had gone long as well. And when Auburn and Alabama started the second half, it was only 26 minutes left until Carolina was supposed to tip off. What does all that mean? Carolina started on ESPN News, and they did not get onto ESPN. ESPN did not switch to the Carolina game until only 65 seconds remained in the first half of this basketball game. Dude, I know they're trying to squeeze in everything they can, but that's just ridiculous. And thankfully, there is ESPN News that they could switch over to, but a lot of times that's not the case. And then they're like, well, you can watch it on the ESPN app and it's not there. I don't know about you. I get frustrated by this, man. Like, do better. Like the CW actually does this better, and they start their they give their games 2 hours and 15 minutes window. So great stuff. I was just really, I don't know, I was up in my thoughts about that one today. All right, let's talk now about the game itself. Jaylen Withers is where I want to start, because this guy has his Carolina career high. He was one off of his complete career high when you combine Carolina and Louisville. Finished with 19 points, 7 of 10 from 3, 3 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds and assists, just 1 turnover, and 3 blocks for Jaylen Withers. For the most part of this game, I want to mention 2 times when he wasn't, but for the most part of this game, Jaylen Withers was the very best version of Jaylen Withers. What I always say is that when he's able to play within what he is needed to do, he's a great asset to this team. When he's being active, when he's slashing, when he's getting to the glass, that's critical. When there were times when, he poked the ball away from Eddie Lampkin in the post, and that was a massive concern for me for the Tar Heels in this game, was how Eddie Lampkin would just bully the Tar Heels, which he did, by the way. But Jaylen Withers, for the most part, did a lot of the stuff you love him to be able to do. The threes he took were within rhythm. I wish he had, actually, I say within rhythm. The second one he made, he kind of pump faked, thought about it, had plenty of time, and then shot. I wish he had just taken it in rhythm, but still, 3 made threes, ties his season high for Carolina, which is how many he made against Kansas in the second game of the season. It was also just the third game this season when he's made multiple threes. The other was the Elon game, which means first 2 games of the season, he made 5 combined threes. And it's like, whoa, what Jaylen Withers are we getting this season? And then this is the next time he hit multiple threes. So there's that. But really, for the most part, really, really good stuff from Jay Witt. Was so proud of him. And perhaps the most important thing that he did was at the moment when Syracuse in the second half has gained all of this momentum, their zone has stymied the Tar Heels. And I'm at that point because of what's happened all season where I'm like, the way this is going, I am not hopeful. Carolina is having their usual collapse that's going to happen either late first half or at some point in the second half. But then Jaylen Withers goes on a personal 8-0 run, meaning no other Tar Heels scored, no other Syracuse player scored. Jaylen Withers scored 8 straight points in this game to push the lead back out to 9. And then, yes, there were a couple other tense moments late. We'll get to those. But that Jaylen Withers run, I thought, was crucial and critical for Carolina winning this basketball game. And the last 6 of those points were back-to-back and ones for Jay Witt. I mean, yes, that's the version of him you want to see. The 2 things that were like, ugh. There was a play. It was was it a blob or a slob? I can't remember if it was baseline or sideline, but he was the one protecting the rim and was just like Mr. Looky-Loo, and Syracuse gets an easy layup right there at the rim. The other one, oh man, there's a minute 45 to go in the game. Carolina's up 8. And at this point, I'm just thinking, let them have 2s and knock your free throws down and you're in great shape. So Carolina's up 8. Syracuse misses. Jay Witt gets the rebound. And I'm like, oh, this is glorious. It looks like they're trying to foul him. He kind of gets spun around. Then as he comes back around, he sees Elliot in the corner over by the Syracuse bench, and he goes to pass it. But got sped up. This is a 5th-year player, man. Breathe. Take your time, because here comes J.J. Starling streaking in to steal the ball, lay it up. Jaylen Withers fouls him to foul out of the game, makes the free throw, and all of a sudden now, instead of an 8-point lead with the ball with a minute 45 to go while Syracuse is trying to foul you, now you're only up 5, and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter, because let's remember that what happened from there. Where was that moment? They get it all the way down to as little as 2. Those Lampkin free throws with a minute 15 to go. And it's like, man, that's scary. So again, for the most part, this was a great Jaylen Withers game. There were just those moments that were like, buddy. Anyway, without Jaylen Withers, the North Carolina Tar Heels do not win this game at Syracuse. I truly believe that. Was really proud of him. The other person, welcome back, Ian Jackson. We're so glad that you decided to show up in this game, because this is another player that without him, Carolina doesn't win it. Let's remember, Ian Jackson had gone through a stretch of 7 games where in 6 of them he had 20 or more points, and in all 7 he had 18 or more points. The last 7 games he had scored in single digits. 6 of those 7, was shooting 19% from 3, and in one of those games had a goose egg. And then Ian Jackson today absolutely explodes. Carolina's leading scorer, 23 points, was 8 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 10 from 3. Had some troubles at the free throw line, 2 of 6, almost cost the Tar Heels there. But four rebounds, a block, and a steal in 29 minutes. He ties his career high with 5 made threes. And I tell you, as soon as he hit that first, his first shot, literally the first time he touched the ball, checking into the game, caught the ball on the wing. I guess it was a bit closer to the corner, actually. Pump fake, let the defender fly by, sidestep, buckets. I mean, it was like, yes, Ian Jackson had a couple nice defensive plays. Had the poke away that he was able, I think it was his second bucket, like just a couple possessions later, had a poke away on defense, took it all the way back for a rim rocking run out. I mean, it was beautiful. Had that layup late where Drake Powell had a very important block on JJ Starling. I forget what the score was at that moment. I can look as we're talking. And then Ian took it. And at first I was thinking time and score, pull it back out. But it was a 2-on-1. RJ wide open on the other side. He's there if Ian can't finish. But the way Ian was able to get to the rim, he's wide open, a no-brainer layup. And I thought ultimately that was the right decision there. Let me see. I'm trying to look what happens there. Oh, he did have that one wide open layup that he missed. Whoops. Man, I can't find where it was. Ian's layup right there. But here we go. It was that made the score. Oh, it was tied. Oh, that made it 83-81, I think, Carolina. Am I looking at that right in real time, you guys? I hope I'm not. My goodness. Let me get back to when the score. No. 81-73. There we go. I had put it in my notes wrong. That gave Carolina an 8-point lead. But still, that was 2.5 minutes to go, and I thought that was a very big moment in this game. Now, continuing to talk about Ian Jackson, one of the things Coach Rob had said on yesterday's show was, hey, in this stretch where we've had 7 games of not good Ian Jackson offense is where RJ has suddenly come alive. Could we please, for the love of Pete, have a game where they're both on and going in the same game? Did they do that? We'll talk about that and much more coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Factor. Are you looking to optimize your nutrition this year in 2025? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals. They're fresh, never frozen, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. That's great stuff. With 40 options across 8 different dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks to keep you going in between those meals. I love how Factor does those kind of things to just take the stress out of meal planning. Go ahead, check out their Protein Plus meals. These are packed with flavor and keep you full throughout the day. I'm doing keto right now with my family, and so those kind of things, man, it's so helpful. The convenience they have is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. So eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 off and use code LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Again, that's code LockedOnCollege50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's a mouthful there from our friends at Factor, but we always get it in. Okay, here we go. Right back to it. We're talking about Ian and RJ, and I love this question that Coach Rob had posed on yesterday's show. As soon as Ian struggled was when RJ heated up. Could we see both of them actually going at the same time? Well, let me give you RJ's line in this game offensively, because that's specifically what we're talking about. 16 points, but it took him 11 shots to get there. RJ was 4 of 11 from the field. Not great. 3 of 9 from 3. That's 33%. That's above his season average. It brings his 8-game average down. Remember, he had been on fire the last 7 games. So it's fine. 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Did have that one miss on the back end. And so in terms of like, can RJ and Ian go both at the same time. This is probably one of the best. I need to go back and look through like what was their best combined like points and shooting average game together. But let me say this. Here's why I thought it was a both of them going. What I think RJ wisely recognized in this game is that even though his shot wasn't efficient going in at the high level it has been lately, you know what he did do? RJ Davis, 5 rebounds, 6 assists to lead the team in that category, and just 1 turnover. 2 steals, by the way, and a block to go with all that in 37 minutes of play for RJ Davis. That is your best player recognizing what needs to happen and making that happen, right? So yes, in that way, RJ and Ian, I thought were both cooking, doing work in this game. And so I thought that was critical that the way it worked together was Ian scoring, RJ playmaking, and needed that on a game when, Elliot had some foul trouble. We'll get to that. Only played 18 minutes. Seth didn't play as much, but was Carolina's leading rebounder again, 8 rebounds. He had 7 in the first half. Thought he would have had more, but in the second half, I felt like Seth didn't play a ton. Yeah, only played 11 minutes. Oh, and I just realized as I'm looking at this, RJ played the entire second half. What up, Iron 5? Well, Iron 1 in this case, because nobody else did. But really, really good stuff. And Carolina played a lot of balance in the second half. 8 total players played in this game. I'm realizing that in the second half, 7 of those 8 players played double-digit minutes. Jay Wash played 7. A lot of that was foul trouble. Interesting. Really interesting from Hubert Davis there to feel like he could utilize everybody. Drake Powell, Ian Jackson, Jalen Washington off the bench, along with the 5 starters. And that brings me to the point of talking about the 5 starters. For the second game in a row, Carolina utilized another new starting lineup. Remember against Clemson on Monday, Carolina went with Elliot Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, standard, but moved Ian Jackson out of the starting lineup in favor of Jaylen Withers along with Van Allen Lubin. The Tar Heels went with that again in this game, interestingly enough. And I think because yet again, Carolina was outsized by Syracuse at every position. Oddly enough, Carolina obliterated Syracuse in blocks, 8-2. Syracuse did win the total rebounding by 4, but it was very close in terms of offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, second chance points, all of that was basically a wash, a J wash. So, interesting in that regard, but there it is. Let's talk about the 3-point line and the free throw line, because it made no sense in this game. Carolina and Syracuse both struggle at the 3-point line this season. Carolina's better than Syracuse, but not by much. Carolina in this game goes 13 of 28 from the 3-point line. 5 different Tar Heels made at least 1 3, including Jay Wash. Beautiful. It was a beautiful rhythm 3. Carolina shoots 46.4% from the 3-point line in this game and hit 13. That ties the most they've made in a game this season with Elon. On the other hand, Syracuse did what they usually do at the 3-point line. They are shooting under 30% as a team this season, and they go 4 of 13 in this game, 30.8%. That was helpful because let's now move to the free throw line where it was flip-flopped, because Syracuse, who is bad at the free throw line, 69.3% on the season. That's 260th in the nation. They went nuclear at the free throw line, 20 of 22. That's 90.9%. And a lot of it was their main 2 players. JJ Starling, who's like a 70% free throw shooter, which is fine, but it was not for a player of his caliber. I would think he would be closer to 80. Goes 10 of 10 at the free throw line in this game. The more frustrating one is Eddie Lampkin, who is 56% at the free throw line, if I remember correctly, goes 8 of 9 at the free throw line, career high 26 points for him. It's fine, whatever, because Carolina was able to limit a bunch of other guys in this game, and that's what you were hoping for is ultimately, fine, Starling's going to get his, Lampkin's going to get his, but it is critical. Excuse me. Carolina was able to hold Starling down in the first half, had just 2 points. The chief reason why is that he committed 2 fouls in the first 5-ish minutes of the game and had to sit on the bench for the vast majority of it. So that means he scored 20 in the second half, JJ Starling did, and he was rolling, man. 6 boards, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals. JJ Starling's a dude, and thankfully Carolina was able to hold him at bay, or really the fouls were able to hold him at bay in the first half. So it's interesting, those weird dichotomies from frees and threes in this game. I talked about the minutes balance in this game. And what I thought was critical for the Tar Heels is that they also not just had minutes balance, but scoring and rebounding balance as well. As we said, Ian Jackson was the leading scorer in this game for Carolina with 23 points. 8 different Tar Heels played, and catch this, all 8 of them had at least 4 points in the game. Nobody went scoreless. Everyone contributed at least something. Behind Ian's 23, you had 19 from Jaylen Withers, as we talked about, 16 from RJ, 9 from Elliot Cadeau, 6 from Van Allen Lubin, 6 from Jalen Washington, 5 from Drake Powell, and then 4 from Seth Trimble. Really good stuff there. Also in rebounding, yes, Carolina got out-rebounded, but holy smokes, check this out. Every Tar Heel had at least 2 total rebounds. But here's the wild one for me. All 8 Tar Heels that played had at least 1 offensive rebound in this game. I do not want to go back and look at every box score, but how rare does that have to be that every Tar Heel that played in a game had not only at least 1 rebound, but had at least 1 offensive rebound? I mean, it's crazy. Really good stuff from Carolina to be able to help out in those ways. All right. As much as I hate to, we've got to talk about Elliot Cadeau. Let's say the good thing first, right? There was a very, very important thing that Elliot Cadeau did late in this game. Let's remember back to the Michigan State game. Elliot Cadeau missed a layup about as wide open as you could get. That Michigan State would have had the ball with some more time to spare, but it was the go-ahead points late in that game and just missed. Thankfully, thanks to Seth Trimble, Carolina was able to make it to overtime. But you don't know. Carolina might have won that game had that ball gone in. Late in this game, Syracuse has brought it to within 2 points. Some missed free throws, some other stuff by Carolina has allowed them to do this. Eddie Lampkin, again, making all these free throws. It is 82-80 Carolina. Those Lampkin free throws were with 61 seconds to go. And Elliot has not been great in this game. We're about to talk about that. But he gets to the left side of the rim and is pretty wide open. Syracuse is off paying attention to other things. And you've already had a moment in this game where Ian missed a wide open layup on the left side of the lane. And Elliot, who was basically reliving that moment, just puts it in beautifully. That was with Carolina had run like 22 seconds off the clock. There's 39 seconds left at that point, and Carolina's back up now by 4. And you're feel like the game's not over. You got to make your free throws. But just if Elliot Cadeau misses that layup as he did against Michigan State, Syracuse is coming down the floor, less than a minute to go, about 30 seconds probably, with the possibility to either go inside the Lampkin or let Starling get to the rim, which he's done all game long. And who knows what happens there. They're not a great 3-point shooting team, but a 3 gives them the lead with under 30 seconds to go. And then that's just what this season has been for Carolina. But instead, Carolina gets a stop there. RJ's fouled, makes them both. Now you got a 6-point lead with 25 seconds, and there's your breathing room, right? And after that, Eddie Lampkin had a little bucket in the lane, a couple more free throws, whatever, ball game, right? And so I just thought that Elliot Cadeau layup, making up for that Michigan State in a lower stakes moment, but still a very critically important moment for this season, I thought was great for him. Here's the problem. With Elliot, we've talked about all season long that his struggles are with first half fouls where he picks up 2 and then's got to sit for a lot. And the other issue he struggles with this season is assist to turnover ratio. And Elliot, let me go to the first half to see how long he played. 8 minutes. Why? Because he picked up 2 fouls and had to go to the bench. If Elliot could be a consistent floor leader, this team ceiling would be higher. But there are times right now, and I'm prepared. I'm going to tell you right now on Monday's show, maybe Tuesdays. I don't know which. I haven't decided yet. I'm to the point now where I'm ready to talk about the possibility of Elliot Cadeau not starting because of what we saw from some of the other lineups from Carolina. Because it's just hamstringing the Tar Heels simply too much. Who he can be, would be great, but it's not happening consistently. And so maybe you got to make a change. So Elliot not only has those 2 first half fouls, in the first 12 minutes of this game, he's committed 3 turnovers. Now, to his credit, from then on, just 1 more turnover the entire rest of the game. That's great. Good job. But man, you're putting your team in a major bind by doing that, by turning the ball over. And a lot of it's just passes. Like the second or third possession of the game, Van Allen Lubin got wide open under the basket, and Elliot got happy and just missiled a pass to him that Van Allen Lubin couldn't handle. And that's an Elliot turnover. He had an offensive foul, had another one where I don't know if he thought Drake was going to keep cutting, but just threw it out of bounds on the baseline. And I'm forgetting the fourth in real time for you. I think he had a travel maybe as well. Yeah, he got into the lane and traveled. That was the other one. I think that was the second half turnover. But let me also say for Carolina in totality, just 9 turnovers in this game. We can live with single digit turnovers. That's good stuff there. So for Elliot, it's just got to be better than that. So now with having, he committed those 3 fouls, Elliot has 3 or more turnovers in 7 straight games for Carolina. He has 3 or more turnovers in 11 of the last 12 games for the Tar Heels. That's just, I don't know what else to say. It's just got to be better, or Carolina's got to figure out something else to do. Well, I hate to leave it on that note. It is a happy game, a win. You'll take it, and now you just got to move ahead. Now it's literally 1 down, 5 to go, but it's Carolina's the players got to be thinking about 1 down, 1 to go. 1 down, 1 to go. Because you know who's next? NC State at home Wednesday night. Got to be ready for that, for the Wolfpack to come in. Got to take care of business. Right back to the drawing board. This is nice. Wire to wire win, but you're just getting started. And that's got to happen. Okay. Comments. I want to go see what comments, what questions, other stuff like that you have. We're going to hit that coming up in just a second, right after this. Right after I tell you about our good friends at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip, or maybe you can't find the channel because the Tar Heels aren't on ESPN yet, or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. It's great because when you win with FanDuel, you get paid instantly. Carolina's football win total is already out. It's set at 7.5. So you can go check that out. It's also got Carolina's odds to win the ACC championship in football. Really cool that they got that going already. And right now, remember that FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Check it out at FanDuel.com today for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, let's get up back to the top here and see what you guys have for us. Derek, what's up? Derek Tyson says everyone needs to be watching USA right now. Is that like University of Southern Alabama, or are you talking about a different sport? Because I don't know. I don't know what our America's. I'm all in on cheering for America always, whenever they're in action. But I don't know what you're referencing. So I don't know. Also, Melinda Dolphin, I'll just pass this as we go by, says we need to watch the ladies tomorrow. The women are hosting NC State. I think the Wolfpack are 10th, Carolina's 12th. Got to be ready for that critical big game. Jimmy Howard, I identify with this. Let me pull this up. Jimmy says, I was pulling for triple zeros on the clock the entire last 10 minutes of the games. It seems like time was going backwards. Happy for the win. Man, I hate when I get to those moments where I'm like, dude, I'm like pulling my hat off, pulling my hair out. Yo, if you're looking right now, look how crazy my hair is. It's bonkers. Welcome to I've been wearing a stocking cap all day Saturday. That's why I've got a hat on. I'm right with you, Jimmy, man. It's like, I would just love to see a game like Cal and SMU are the only ACC games I can think of where Carolina has just gotten that lead and kept pulling away. Not able to do it here. Would love to see it in this 6-game stretch. I know we're joking about this, but it brings me to the point of saying that, like at home against NC State, man, let's just get a lead, build a lead, and blow them the crap out the gym and just make them wish they were already back in Raleigh, right? Let's do it. Let's do that on Wednesday night. But hey, again, wire to wire win. We'll take this. So there is that. Samuel Gonzalez says, we need more consistency. Jay Witt and Captain Jack bailed us out. Jay Wash needs to ride the bench. I'm with you on the we need more consistency, Sam. I'm with you on the Jay Witt and Captain Jack helped out. I don't know if I'd say bailed, but really, really helped. I don't know about Jay Wash needs to ride the bench. Here's why I say that. Yes, in a game against Eddie Lampkin, he's got nothing for that. Eddie can just basically go boop, and Jay Wash is on the ground, right? But I think Jay Wash is not back to fully healthy after his knee injury he suffered against Boston College. His activity early in this game was really good. He had those, I thought he blocked them both, but one was credited to Jay Witt, one credited to him. I need to go back and watch that to see if that was actually the case. But that step in three was beautiful. And he was trailing? Was it secondary? I can't remember, but it was a nice in rhythm three. There's capability there, and Carolina needs him, man. And so really got to keep watching for that. Greg Ward. Yes. Greg Ward says, I'm glad the team hasn't quit. Agreed. It would be very easy to say, you know what, guys, throwing in the towel. I'm done. Right. But I love that they're still fighting, man. Like I thought, yes, Syracuse closed at times. It's good to see Syracuse still fighting. Let's be honest about that. They've had a tougher season than Carolina has. And they're still out there fighting as well. But Carolina's in, man. And I think that's important. They want to keep doing it and seeing what they can make of this season. I still think there are tweaks that could be made. I know there are only 6 regular season games left, but keep tweaking, keep working, keep doing it. You just don't know what can happen. So we'll stay looking at it. I'm trying to see what else we got here. Melinda says, I didn't tune in to watch bracketology. Let's say some things, though, as Melissa brings that up about bracketology. Obviously, Carolina, I'm just going to use Joe Lunardi because he's the most popular of the bracketologists. I know we got Jerry Palm at CBS. We've got Mike DeCourcy at Fox and a whole bunch of other bracketologists. But Carolina started today in Joe Lunardi's bracketology in next 4 out. Let me explain what that means really quick, because a couple of people asked me in the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, which is a great nod to that. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, man, we'd love to have you. Literally hundreds of Tar Heels fans in there. We're talking all the time. Here are the 4 designations that Joe Lunardi gives. Last 4 buys. That means you are one of the 4 teams right now. If the field was starting today, you would be in the bracket, safe as an at-large bid, not an automatic qualifier. You would make it in, not have to go to Dayton. Last 4 in. These are the 4 at-large teams that would go to Dayton to play either Tuesday or Wednesday as a play-in team. So last 4 in, you're not safe. You got to play Tuesday or Wednesday. Next, you get first 4 out. This would be the 4 at-large teams that just barely missed the cut. So the first team and first 4 out is the last team that would have made it to Dayton, right? And so those are the teams right on, just on the outside looking in. And then next 4 out, which would be teams like 5, 6, 7, 8, just outside looking in as well. Today, starting the day, Carolina was in that pool. And if I remember correctly, they were 3rd in that pool. One of the things I want to point out to you right now, Melinda and everyone, is that every day this time of year, I post a bubble team cheering guide. Who you should be rooting for if you're a bubble team. I post that for the national audience, but obviously it matters for Carolina as well. So today I had about 8 to 10 games on there to watch for. And I haven't checked in on what's been happening while the Tar Heels have been playing, but coming into the Tar Heels game, like one bubble team had won today. Who was that? Xavier. And basically everyone else, including Indiana last night, lost. So that's great news for Carolina. Some games are double bubble games, like Wake and SMU was basically a toss-up. I would have liked SMU to win that game because Carolina beat them and lost to Wake. So you'd rather push Wake out. Wake. Did you see their embarrassing loss earlier in the week? Oh, boy. Yikes. So you want Wake to kind of be bumped out of the bubble thing. So I think I was cheering for SMU. I haven't checked to see if they won or not. I'm sure somebody out there could tell us in the comments. But that's where Carolina's sitting right now, on the outside looking in. But this is what happens because the whole bubble is always made up of not great teams. So if you're a bubble team and you can just keep winning and let teams all around you fall off, that's putting you in better shape. So that's where things were. All right. Let's see if we can get maybe one more. Oh, Melinda says Elliot Cadeau's fourth foul was imaginary. This reminds me, I wanted to say, I can't remember if this was the fourth foul, but I believe it was. That was not a college shooting foul. Now, what I want to say, it was on the left side of the basket. I think it was Starling, if I remember correctly. I thought Elliot fouled him on the floor, or, to Melinda's point, I haven't gone back to watch it, but multiple people sent messages to me saying, I didn't even think he touched him. So I need to go back and watch that, which it was kind of made up later because there was a play where Elliot Cadeau wasn't touched and they called a foul right in front of the Syracuse bench. Although I think he missed the front end of the one-on-one there. So a little ball don't lie action. But anyway, Elliot was called for the foul and they gave him the bucket and Starling made the free throw. Now, I kind of wish we had continuation in college because I like that better, what the NBA does. But based on what the college rules are, that to me was not even remotely close to in the act of shooting and therefore counting that basket. And I think that was what tied the game at 70, right? Am I remembering that correctly? I think that tied the game at 70. Let's go look, gang, in real time here. Here we go. 70-70. Let's look. It can't have been that. Later, 78, 68, 78, 70, 78, 71, 79, 73. I don't know when that was. I'm continuing to look, but I haven't found it yet. Anyway, it's not worth me continuing to look because I'm wasting your precious time if I do that. All that to say, I thought that was a bad call from, I think it was Ron Groover that made that call, if I remember. And so there's that. Drew, 1986, says Drake, under the radar, had a really good game. He did a lot of good stuff. This is one of those games where you can't be a box score looker to appreciate what Drake Powell did. And I say that because Drake only had 5 points. 3 total shots, made one of them. That was that 3-pointer he made, which is really important for Carolina. Made both free throw attempts he took, which was literally right at the end of the game to get the lead back to 6, which Carolina basically had the game there. I think it was like 12 seconds and Heels were up 4, but that's a 1 4-point play away from overtime, right? So those were critical free throws at the end. 2 rebounds. Check this out. Drake Powell, 3 assists, 0 turnovers. He's done that a lot lately. Very happy with that. 2 blocks, including that critical block we talked about on Starling later in the game. That led to that Ian Jackson run out to push the lead back to 8. And here's the other thing. I know plus minus is not the end all be all when it comes to stats, but for what it's worth, Drake Powell by far led Carolina in plus minus at plus 13. Next closest was Jay Wash at plus 8, Ian at plus 6, on down like that. And so right with you, Drew, I thought Jay Wash had a really helpful game here. And so that is what it is. All right, guys. Again, great stuff from Carolina to win this game. Really thankful they were able to. And now we continue to watch other teams, right? Like literally right now, Texas is in action at home against Kentucky. I know I typically do not cheer for the Kentucky Wildcats for any reason, especially in the Cal era. I kind of like them now again under Mark because it feels like who Kentucky is supposed to be typically, right? And so I'm down with that. But tonight we were really cheering for him because Texas is a bubble team ahead of the Tar Heels. So down with the Longhorns. I apologize to my wife, who's a massive Texas fan, but today we need it to happen, right? Was so glad. Tennessee was down by 16 in the second half to Vandy. Vandy's a bubble team. And it's funny because we've got Van Allen Lubin from them. They've got Tyler Nickel now from us in the first year after Coach Stackhouse was there, but was so glad that Tennessee came back and won this game. So that's what we're watching the rest of the weekend. Can these bubble teams keep losing, which is going to help Carolina move up? Not necessarily, because beating Syracuse doesn't really do anything for your resume. But just simply avoiding the loss against what would have been a quad 3 loss, your second quad 3 loss, like UConn took a quad 3 loss today. It was their second one. They lost at Seton Hall. Gross. It was almost a quad 4 loss with where Seton Hall is in the net. And Carolina, to their credit, has avoided that. As of right now, the Stanford loss has flipped back to a Q3. So we also need to be big Stanford fans. Let's get that back up to a quad 2 loss. And then you don't have any quad 3 or quad 4 losses. That's really going to help the resume. By the way, really great job today. Bubba Cunningham. Did y'all watch the top 16 reveal? I thought, a lot of times the selection committee chair is bad. Like when they're questioning them about why teams are where they are. Right? Like it's just incoherent. I thought Bubba was coherent. He knew stuff about the teams. He knew their resumes, knew their quad 1 wins, stuff like that. So I just thought he did really well. And of course, hilarious that he refused to read Duke's name when they came up. Like I burst out laughing. Well done, Bubba Cunningham. You, sir, are the man. All right, guys. That's it for tonight. We'll be back at it on Monday. We'll unpack more about this game, big picture stuff, look ahead. I want to talk about some of those lineups without Elliot Cadeau on the floor. Is it time? Is it time to think about maybe bringing him off the bench? I've not been in on that. I think I might be now. So we'll do that. We'll look at the rest of what happened this weekend, and then we'll start getting ready for NC State. Wolf Puppies coming to town on Wednesday. If you haven't joined Locked on Tar Heels on YouTube, man, smash that subscribe button right now. We're getting so close to 10,000 subscribers. We're like 150 away. Would you be the next one to help us get there? I would love to do that by the end of February. We got 13 days left. Come on, man, get with it. If you've not joined the Locked on Tar Heels Insiders, a great way to go next level with the show. That link's in the show notes. And then also you can join Locked on Tar Heels Discord. We talked about that earlier, also in the show notes. All right, gang, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel, especially on a wire-to-wire dub up in Syracuse, who Carolina lost up there last year. We'll talk again on Monday, but until then, peace.